Welcome back to Le Foot, your podcast about French football, and this week we will bring you our take on the two heavy-hitting games last weekend where Giroud scored for Lille to beat Marseille at the Vélodrome and Monaco grabbed all 3 points against a Lyon that is not flying so high anymore. We will discuss all the latest from Ligue 1, including the very problematic fact that the title race clash between Lens and PSG, it has been postponed as per PSG's wish with the argument that it's good for French football. No way. We also look at the title race, the fight for Champions League football, as well as the teams in the bottom of the table. We take out our 11 players for the France international friendlies, but more importantly, Club of the Week is Auxerre. On y va.
Hello, welcome.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, how are you doing, Charlie?
It feels very good to be back talking Ligue 1 and French football again. It's been... how do you say? We didn't intend on having this break, but things happen in life. There's been a lot of work. There's been travels. There's been illnesses and stuff like that. But I feel that we're back stronger. But how about you, Dennis? You've been skiing.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was very nice. Nice to be in the slopes and then finish off with some sauna and some beer and good food. Really good food.
It's good to get some skiing and also before the season wraps up, because now we are heading into spring, it feels like.
Yeah.
Finally. I say finally. I just wanted summer to come already.
Yeah.
It's been a long, dark winter and we're on the right side. And I mean, we see all the pictures from France. Spring is there already.
Spring is there already, and we are back here in the basement, which feels very nice as well.
Basement, boardroom. And I mean, I think we have to give a bit of background. Why is it also a boardroom? It's because you're in a board and you have meetings in here at times.
Yeah, so I don't know how to say it actually in English, but like there's a community or like where you live. So everybody owns a share, like their apartment. All apartments is a share of a whole, and then like we have these board meetings for some people who lives in the same apartment buildings and make decisions on behalf of the house building, more or less. So we come down here. It's me, two really old ladies. They don't do that much. So it's me, mainly a guy and another guy called Thomas. He's very nice, and a guy called Eric, and we make most of the decisions. Not that large ones. It's not like we are investing into stocks or anything. It's more like we need to have somewhere to put our bikes, so we have to give people the keys.
So small but important questions.
Yes, exactly. Nice.
And you're the boss.
I'm not head of the board yet, but
This is like Succession. You're fighting yourself into the...
Exactly. Nah, but you always learn from new experiences, so I don't mind contributing with what I can.
Very good.
That's amazing.
And in the slopes then, Dennis, any falling down and hurting yourself, or it was all good?
I didn't know if we were gonna get there, but yeah.
but
I did some cross-country skiing. And,
as well,
Yeah. And I went a bit fast, and then I think it was the first time I tried it in quite a long time.
Okay.
And I just wanted to go a bit faster, so I stood up while going fast, and then I just face planted. Everything went quite fast.
But isn't that the thing though with cross-country skiing, that you can get a bit bored, I feel?
Yeah.
That it's not fast enough.
Yeah,
or
no.
you do what is it called? The traditional, and then you have skate.
Yeah.
You do traditional.
I do traditional mostly.
Okay. Yeah.
Some skating, but I mean that's
tough.
That's tough, yeah.
But it's fun, more tempo.
Yeah, definitely.
But really good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you. You too, guys.
All right. Due to boardroom meetings, work and illnesses, we will jump straight into game week 27, kicking off with the game Lyon versus Monaco. And funny here, before going into the game, I think we've seen two teams totally switching side in terms of winning and losing games. scrolling back a few weeks, we could see Lyon going on a massive winning streak, but now struggling, going out in Europe and also in the league, whereas Monaco have just the last couple of games performed superb and going out this game victorious once again, starting by conceding a goal by Sult. So big or like very nice to see Monaco doing beautifully and really looking very well. But what can we say from this game?
Yeah, but I think Lyon came off and they had a good first half. They could have scored some more goals. And also, I think early in the second half, Endrick had a fantastic chance to double the lead. And Tolisso in the first half had a hit in the post, a good shot. But then in the second half, things turn around and Monaco produces some great football. Akliouche, he's equalizing and then he generates a penalty and Balogun slots it home. And I think in the end, I would say it's a fair result. I think you have some performers in Monaco now that really is starting to make heads switch and they are, like you said, in form. And they had terrible form during Pocinoli in the beginning, and now they are starting to look like a true contender for Champions League football, and they're actually right in there. And Lyon, I mean, just like you said, Sulch back scoring goals, they have chances, but they are not really there. And I think things are catching up with them a little bit. I think they got a bit too much points before. And I think somewhere in the middle is where they are at in terms of points getting. Of course, they're a top team, so not in the middle of the table. But I think they are not 13 wins in a row good, but they are also not, 7 games in a row without victory bad. I think somewhere in there we will find Lyon in the middle. Because it's been rough. I remember we talked about Lyon that they were going to go into a hectic schedule. They were going to have Strasbourg, OM, they were going to have Lens, and they lost those games. And then they had a few draws. I think the one in match week 26 versus Le Havre is not good at all because Le Havre had a red card. Lyon had the time to do something there. But then it must be tough also going out in Europa League because I saw them as one of the favorites to win that whole competition. And it is very disappointing for me to not have Lyon in that competition anymore. I felt that they could definitely have beaten Celta Vigo.
Yeah, definitely a setback. But I think going back to the first half, Lyon they scored a nice goal by Sulch, great assist by Endrick, and they had a lot of chances to go up 2-0. And I'm especially thinking about that opportunity that Endrick had, pass from Sulch. I mean, should he have scored? Is that something he needs to be more clinical of? Also considering that we have spoken of him as one of the great names for the future, and these are like the chances he needs to score 9 out of 10. Like, what do you guys think about that chance?
Yeah, I really think that Endrick should score those goals.
Yes,
I think it's important for his career.
100%
to really do that.
Because I think you're mentioning career, and that's important because he needs, the way he started in Lyon, it's almost like he needs to keep that up in order to head into the summer, get back to Real Madrid training and be a contender to play there. If he's gonna produce he was not terrible. He had a good assist as well to Souk. But this kind of performance and what we've seen for a few weeks now is not going to bring him into the Real Madrid squad. I don't think so. I think we need to see more of Endrick that we saw previously. And I'm getting a bit worried that what we saw was maybe more a moment of tremendous footballing quality from Endrick and maybe not exactly where he is in quality. And if he is not that good, I see it very difficult for him to move back to Real Madrid and take a place in that squad because Real Madrid is one of the top clubs in the world, and that's...
Yeah, I think two things here. Like, first off, I know that Real Madrid is keeping an eye on him because they have great hopes of him in the future, but I don't think they see all the games he plays. So I think he's somewhat going to get judged when his loan spell is over in terms of what he produced in points. I'm talking assists and goals. So, I mean, you have to keep those numbers up, like always.
Yeah.
But then also, I mean, when he was producing goals, assists, every match, every game, that was also the period when Lyon was also winning, like 12, 13 games in a row. But now, the points haven't been as frequent, and neither has Lyon grabbing 3 points week in, week out. So I think there might be something to do with that. But I mean, we should not, dig too deep into Endrick's performance, saying he should have scored and this and that, because I still think, I mean, he made a great assist and he produced a lot of chances. He was a threat throughout the game. So, I mean, it's not because of Endrick that Lyon lost this game.
No, I agree. And I think if we stay even further on Lyon here, stay even longer on Lyon, I think exactly what you're saying is a sign of a weakness, that a lone player, a young lone player, that the club is so dependent on his performance in these times when things have gone good. It's almost like Endrick would need to have scored 2 goals here to have the win. Because in the end, I think it's a fair result. You had Akliouche in Monaco performing incredible football, and we will talk a bit about the French national team later. He has been called up for the international friendlies now. You also have in the midfield Jordan Tesse, he provided fantastic match, and then Balogun, it's a penalty, but he keeps scoring goals. And for the US national team and the World Cup, this must be such a joy to have a striker in form ahead of a World Cup. Many countries don't have that. I mean, even good footballing nations, one thing that is so tricky to have is an in-form striker ahead of a big tournament, because I feel that in the footballing world today, strikers who are performing consistently is getting less and less. I don't know what it is with these false nines or the tactic changes of the times, but I think the US should be very happy that he keeps scoring. But penalty is a penalty, of course.
Yeah, but I think on that topic, funnily, I read today or the other day that it's Pochettino who coached US, right?
Yeah.
National team. He said, like, he went out to media and said that, I mean, he was basically saying that we need to believe in ourselves as a team that can actually compete in this tournament, and not only be, a team that hosts the tournament. So that US should, like the US nation and the players should believe in themselves that they can make a contribution to the tournament. But then I don't think him or anyone thinks they can be able to win it. But I mean, at least to get the spirit up, and then, you need to have quality players, and they do have a few, and Balogun is definitely one of them, as you mentioned.
Yeah, coming in form here. But it's interesting, I mean, Pochettino, completely off topic, but I saw that he was on one of the matches in the Champions League when Tottenham lost versus Atletico Madrid there.
Who was he scouting then? Or was he there for fun?
I don't know. I think it was to see his old dear Tottenham go out with a bang.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting. And I think Monaco, we'll get into the Champions League stages later, but I see them as a good contender now. You have OM struggling. We talked about it some weeks ago. Lyon.
And it's 1 point. No, sorry, it's 3 points between them and OM for spot number 3. And yeah, Monaco is in a great form, so I see they have all the opportunities to grab that spot.
That would be huge, given where they were.
Yeah, for sure. But also, the red card. You wanted to mention something about that, or?
I mean, you have Tagliafico. We do remember the previous game this season where Koulibaly in Monaco did the tackle of the century and kicked him right almost on the throat and the chest. And to see Tagliafico, now it's on Camara, but it feels a little bit to me, it's a grumpy situation, of course, he's losing, his team is losing, but it also feels like revenge. And I know it's a long time ago now since they played and he got that tackle, but if you look at this tackle, it's a nasty one. He keeps the studs up. That one could injure Camara, so we will have to see, of course, the consequences there. But I also want to mention that Tagliafico now got from from the federation in France or the league, he has gotten 3 matches extra suspension for this direct card, and I have a hard time arguing with that, because if you are angry in the end of a game and you behave like that, you maybe should cool down and be suspended for a bit.
Yeah, you can really see the ball was quite far away.
It was gone.
Yeah, it was gone. On to the next game, we have OM versus Lille, where Lille took home the victory. And we saw Greenwood injured.
Early on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nasty tackle by Verdonk. Could possibly have been a red, but he stayed on the pitch and Greenwood went out. But what does that matter when the substitute Nwaneri scores the goal?
Yeah.
1-0 OM. And I think they had a decent first half. But then in the second half, I would say not good enough for OM at home. And we have a fantastic match by Thomas Meunier, the former Dortmund player, PSG player, scoring and assisting, and then substituted coming in the end and scoring the winning goal, Olivier Giroud, the elder man. And I think I just want to stop there for a bit. Giroud is still playing on a high level. He is old, and is Giroud one of the most underrated strikers of these times? If you look at the trophy cabinet, you could argue. Of course, Giroud has his limits in the, and I've seen Giroud a lot in Arsenal and in Montpellier, and then eventually we saw him move on to Chelsea as well. But for a striker who has won the World Cup, he has won the Champions League with Chelsea. He performed consistently at Arsenal, but never really became that superstar. Is he underrated, Jeff?
I just first wanna, I don't know if Mbappe has passed him now, but isn't he also the leading goal scorer in France in the national team?
I think he scored plenty. Yeah, you're right. We need to check that one. It could be
because that's just one of those facts. We need to check that, but that's also one of those facts. I mean, that's a statement, because you had great players playing for France for a long time, and if you have those kind of records, it's a statement.
You are correct. He is the record goal scorer of the French national team, 57 goals.
Yeah, Mbappe is probably going to go past him soon, but nevertheless, I think I have won the World Cup, played for great clubs, big clubs such as Arsenal, Chelsea, and been there scoring goals for a long time. You are a pro. But, I mean, he's never really taken that step to become a world-class striker, in my opinion, comparable to, let's say, Suarez, Lewandowski, Henry. You have all of them. He's never taken that extra step. So he's more of that's another Arsenal player though, but I would say Aubameyang. I mean, we have plenty of those players, right? Lauro Martinez now in Inter,
great, second tier, not top tier, second tier.
Great players, but they've not taken that extra or that extra step to become on that level where they are Ballon d'Or contesters, winning the Golden Boot or stuff like that. He's not there. So, I mean, no, I wouldn't say he's underrated, but still, I mean, he's not on that level, no.
No. But I find that one, because it's so interesting, when it comes to football or sports in general, it sometimes becomes so trophy-focused. It's how many trophies do you have in the end of your career, etc. But I think you're pointing at the complexity of this question, comparing trophies versus the role in a team. When you look at other players, maybe didn't win as much, they could have a bigger impact and a bigger role in a team, in a squad, on the pitch than Giroud has had. But still, how to consider greatness. Because I think when you have won the World Cup, when you are the top goal scorer of France, be it for now, I saw that Mbappe is number 2 on 55, so he's coming. But he is a striker and he's scoring the goals. But when you mentioned those names like Thierry Henry, it's like a threat towards the whole back line an entire game when he was in his prime. Olivier Giroud still needs to be served the ball in a place in the opponent's box.
But I think it also comes to greatness. Also comes with consistency. It was a few years ago now when I watched him consistently, week in, week out in the Premier League, and like I would definitely say he's up there if you see a few games of him. But then he also had a few or more than a few of those games when you were like, this has been a bad performance. And you don't see those bad performances from those top players. And I think that's also like a point that would talk towards my statement of, him not taking that step either. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a touch there, or there's something that he misses, something that he doesn't understand. Like he's just not there.
But I would say like this, in this second tier, because I can sign on the fact that he is maybe in the second tier of top strikers. In the top tier, you have the ones with a big impact on any squad they've ever been in. But in this second tier, I would put him high. You see what I mean? He's almost knocking at the door when it comes to CV and his career to the first tier, but he's not really there. But I think it's a good time now at the end of his career that the world gives its kudos to Olivier Giroud. It's so easy that he will put the shoes on the shelf and stop playing, and then we remember the greatness. I remember also the World Cup when France won. Definitely a role player, as in this striker position. You had fantastic other players, but he played a role. And that's the thing with Giroud. One thing that I think everyone can appreciate is the loyalty, and I don't think he is that kind of person that if he gets a role that is not center, he will still do the job. Like now in Lille, he's coming off the bench, and from what I've read, I mean, everyone is so appreciative of him, how he is with the young players. He is a great character, and it's just nice to see these older players, even late in the career, score a winning goal in a tough away game at the Vélodrome.
It's nice, and it just got me thinking that I know in one segment where he is top tier.
What is that?
In looks.
It could be argued. I mean, I think Giroud himself thinks that. But he's a good-looking fella, Yeah. He'll sit in the sauna with Dennis and Kevin Trapp, maybe. But to Marseille then, Dennis, because after this match, Marseille fans were actually quite furious, and they showed that anger towards the team. Do you agree with them? Should they be angry after a loss like this?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, we know that Marseille is there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah,
and very inconsistent as in their performance.
Yeah.
Losing a game against Lille. I mean, Lille is one of the better teams, of course, in Ligue, but they're playing at home. Marseille is good at home, and I think that they should at least go away with a draw here and not a loss.
Perhaps also the impact or the situation where Greenwood went out quite early also had an impact throughout the game, since he's one of their key players.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I don't think. I think they really need someone like Greenwood every game, throughout the game.
And we'll talk a bit later about the league status for the Champions League spots, but they came off three straight victories, so it felt like Habib was getting things a bit straight. And I can imagine that for the supporters, to your point, they're playing at home, and this feels a bit like back to the ups and downs that was right before De Zerbi left, and feel so super disappointed. Maybe they want to continue a winning streak, and I would say their Champions League spot is very much into question with the matches that are left this season.
And especially considering we have a 6-point game coming up now. We have the national break now, but they're playing Monaco away in their next game. So
that's a must watch.
That's going to be a big game for both of them, because I mean, if Marseille would win that, it would give them a huge boost and also some breathing room to the teams below, including Monaco, who's on a rampage now. Yeah,
looking forward to that one. Ligue check. We have PSG up top, but the weekend was started with Lens, and they are back winning. Match week 26, they actually grabbed a loss against Lorient, which we didn't have an episode to talk down, but that was of course super disappointing, but so strong to bounce back with a 5-1 win at home, and 2 goals from Olsen Edouard, one of them being very nice chip over the goalkeeper. But good to see. But main match in terms of mentality this weekend must be our dear Auxerre. First goal at home this year. And they managed to score 3. And they managed to do it with 1 man down. I haven't seen a match where the team who gets 1 man down in the 6th minute actually managed to win with 3-0. And it's a bottom team. It shows that they have something special, and you have
and then you would think that perhaps their goal scorers in Ayoke would have scored at least 1 out of those 3, but no.
Defender Oko scoring 2 with headers, and then Namaso the 3rd, and I don't know, Bresto. Imagine you playing a bottom team, their goalie Leon is sent off in the 6th minute, and you still manage to lose 3-0. I think that is they need to walk home from this match all the way to Bretagne, because it's poor.
I don't know if the Brest had a messy night the night before or something, but
But we should, you can always look at a match. We've talked about it before. You can bash the losing team, or you can give some praise to Auxerre. And I think it's time now. They scored the first goal at home for the year. They managed to do it 3 times over, and good performance. But then, more so, we have Dro Hernandez in PSG scoring his first Liga goal after arriving this winter from Barcelona, the talented 18-year-old. And PSG beat Nice with a solid 4-0. Of course, the goal scoring started off with a penalty, which is a handball. And I want to ask you guys here, if an attacking player takes a shot, the shot will definitely miss. It will go out. But before it goes out, it hits a defender's arm. Do you think morally that should be a penalty? It wouldn't have been a goal. It would have been a goal kick if the defender wasn't there. But it hit his arm, and instead, according to the rule book, it's a penalty. But should it be in the rule book a penalty?
I think that's a good question. I mean, if you think like the consequence of stuff, like the consequence of just having your arm in a position that could make the ball touch it. I mean,
it's harsh.
I don't know. Yeah, it's very harsh. I think it's very harsh because the outcome now is, I mean, they didn't even hit the goal.
It was like maybe half a meter, 1 meter off. It would have just gone out. The defender was standing almost down at the line, and instead of going out, it hit his arm and then went out.
Yeah.
But in the rule book, from what I've understood now, because when I watched this match, I was like, oh shit, that's such a shitty penalty to give away. But in the rule book, and this I can understand, it states that, of course, it doesn't matter where you are in the penalty box. If it hits your arm outside of your body, it's a penalty. And I can understand it's much easier for referees if that's the rule. Otherwise, they need to always check where was the ball going.
That's true.
But I still, it's one of those ones that you're like...
That's my perspective also, because personally I would say no. If it's clear that the ball is going to go outside of the goal, there shouldn't be a penalty. But, I mean, we now have VAR in place almost everywhere. And even though that tool is, I mean, on place, the referees, I mean, there's no consistency in what what is a penalty, what is a free kick, and like there's still lack of consistency. So if you would make this rule more of like it's up to the referee to make a decision, I think we'll just have more subjectivity into the decision making, which would just make it more unclear, and it might not be beneficial in the long run anyway. So I think that's why the rule is in place, as you explained, Charlie, and also perhaps why that rule should also be in place. So yeah, I'm a bit.
I would like to put this. It's such a different context, but parking spots when you can't park there for a certain day and certain times of a week. I think it's not, of course, the same thing, but would the ticketing people should they call like the cleaners and whatever to be like, oh, are you coming today?
I see where you're going, because here, where we live, you can find these days when it's supposed to be a removal of snow. Yeah. If it's not snowing, you're still not allowed to park there those days. Yeah. And then you're thinking like, shouldn't the right thing be, can I park here? Yeah. Because there is no snow, there's nothing for you to clean off.
Yeah, or sand or stuff.
Or sand or whatever, yeah.
But then you would never know in Sweden, because in 2 hours it could start snowing. You'd be fucked anyway.
The job would be impossible. So I see what you're saying. Yeah. Same for the parking spot folks working with feeing the cars. They have the same issue as the referee would have if we made it a bit more human. Yeah, because the human aspect is no penalty, let me park here. Yeah, that's what you want in life.
Exactly.
No, for sure. But I just want to mention, when it comes to that penalty, Nuno Mendes scored a fantastic penalty. We see some terrible ones. Jeff, I know you talked about Panicelli scoring a terrible penalty against Marseille a month or so ago.
But he made a brace now and is top of the goal scoring table.
And we need to stay there. It feels like Greenwood has been top of the table for goal scorers for so long in Liga, and I am actually very happy to have someone pushing there to chase for that title. It felt like it was still for a while.
He's still top when it comes to points, including both goals and assists.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't seem like Panicelli likes to pass. He only scores.
And he scored twice, grabbing the 3 points coming off the bench against Nantes.
And it's going to be funny to see if he can contribute with this tempo. I mean, let's say he makes another 8 goals or so. He's going to be on roughly 25. What other clubs out in Europe might be interested of buying?
Knowing how things work, isn't it Chelsea now? Maybe they need to have someone taking the lap space. I don't know. Chelsea fans out there could
perhaps swap. They like these swaps.
Then they're gonna burn the stadium down if they get the lap changed for Panicelli.
Injured the lap.
We also need to mention Paris FC, Dennis. Grabbing all 3 points. Ciro Immobile scores his first Paris FC goal, his first Liga goal, and his proper striker goal as well. He had one in the crossbar, and I got the feeling we're gonna see more goals from Ciro Immobile this spring, because it felt like a different player this match compared to maybe he needed some time to get into it, and the adjustment.
Find his groove now in Liga.
The Liga groove. So it's good, but the bottom. We just need to. The match nobody needed to watch was Rennes drawing with Metz, and Metz goalkeeper actually made it into the team of the week, and I think from L'Equipe, and I think that's a very strong side. Yeah. But apart from that, I think no more words needs to be mentioned about this this 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
Just that since Auxerre, as we said, won. They have increased the gap down to both Nantes and Metz. Good for Auxerre, but bad for Nantes and Metz.
And it feels like they're giving it a run now, Auxerre, chasing Nice and Le Havre on the right side there. Of course, it's 5 points, but it's not. It's only 5 points. to the squads above there, and I think.
But if you lose every game, 5 points is it's quite a lot.
They need to continue winning. That's a fact.
Yeah.
One thing I also need to mention, not as important, but we have a cafe opening, Champs-Élysées. PSG Cafe. A bit far from football, but need to mention, just open now this week. And you can buy, what did it say, Jeff?
Fresh juices, French pastries.
Quality food.
Quality food. But I looked on some pictures and the interiors, it was somewhat similar to a dressing room. So like when you sat in the cafe, it was like you had... sitting at Mbappe, or well, he's not playing in PSG anymore, but like you were sitting at Dembélé, so someone's share in the dressing room, and then you have like their shirt at the back, like kind of that vibe, but then still very sterile, like white walls, the fresh juices and all that.
Looked a bit like the Apple store more than a cafe.
Maybe.
But I think if I understood it right, it's right next to the PSG Superstore. So I think maybe they are trying to do some experience here, full experience that you can grab a drink, grab a Dembele shirt, sit on his seat.
Yeah, just another way of making more money, I guess.
More money.
So for those who have not seen the draw, or I mean the draw was done before, so we knew which team we're going to play against to shut in the Champions League, but nevertheless we have PSG playing against Liverpool, since both went through their games. PSG winning against Chelsea, did it quite easily, considering both games. And Liverpool, even though losing their first game against Galatasaray, they battered them completely back home. So we have PSG versus Liverpool now in the quarterfinals. And now, here again, the French Football Confederation have decided to give PSG, or they have postponed PSG's game against Lens, which were to be played in between the two legs towards Liverpool. So this happened, as we discussed before, when they were going to play Chelsea. A game got postponed, and now it happened again. And some backstory to this also is that, first of all, Liverpool is playing against Fulham in between these two legs, so they don't have the same amount of rest as PSG has. Also, Lens, as we all know, are competing against Paris Saint-Germain to win the Ligue this year, and they are absolutely furious that PSG are given this advantage again. And with all reasons, and they also provided like a memorandum against PSG to have this game postponed for obvious reasons. So that's where we are now. Basically, PSG is giving clear advantage both in the league towards the teams there in Liga, but then also against Liverpool in the Champions League. What are our opinions and thoughts regarding this?
Well, I think it's such a shame. I think you putting it right there. They're getting a advantage which no club deserves. Going far in the Champions League, it means you're going to have a lot of matches. It's a part of the challenge, and it's a part of the tricky part of winning the hardest trophy to win in Europe, which is the Champions League title. And now they are getting extra rest between the Liverpool matches, even though the schedule was already there to play a really tough game against Lens. And in Ligue 1, it's a complete mess. The board then approved this to be moved, but Lens has said no. And still they go ahead moving this match, which happened with Nantes just between the Chelsea games, as you said. And giving one club advantages is not something for a league association or a league organization to do.
And also their rationale behind this is just funny. They do it because...
Yeah, it's good for French football, is what Campos is arguing, the head there in PSG, Luis Campos. And what he is saying is that the French league coefficient UEFA points is in danger, given that Portugal is right below, and they are performing they went further with several clubs. I think we had Sporting Lisbon going through in the Champions League. We had Benfica proceeding as well. I haven't looked up exactly in the lower Europa League or the Conference League. And the French team, all apart from PSG, they went out before now the finishing part of the Champions League. But I still think that argument is not valid, because what's good for French football is creating the best possible environment and working parts and collaboration between the French clubs. They should have a league that's thriving. They shouldn't look at others. Oh, look what Portugal is done. They are coming for us. Will we no longer be top 5? That you can't move matches. That's not the solution. You need to produce better. PSG has such a budget. They have such fantastic players, and they need to look at the footballing aspect of solving this scenario. Playing Liverpool, Lens, Liverpool, not moving one match around. It's like giving football outcomes in offices and boardrooms, which is something that every single football fan on the planet will disagree with.
Yeah, and it just gets me thinking about so many things. And I think first of all here is also important to underline that PSG is, if not the number 1 club, one of the top 3 clubs in Europe, in the world, which with the biggest budget and the biggest opportunity to have a squad who should be able to compete both in Europe and what's considered by most people, and apparently UEFA, who puts the French league in the top 5 in these ratings, like as a league who's not as difficult as the others. So they should definitely be able to compete on both fronts. On top of that, also, I think this decision just undermines their own league if they can push over other teams, saying that, hey, we need to let PSG some slack so they can perform better for the rest of us, so we all have a better chance getting into Champions League, Europa League, etc. by next year. So they're just undermining the league. But then on top of that, it just makes me think it's all about the money. They want the money, they want the French leagues out there because it's going to get their pockets deeper in the end.
And there we know that the French league has had huge challenges with the TV rights and money coming in elsewhere. So the European money is important, but it's way too big of a league and too great of a league to start reasoning like this. I think countries like Sweden reason like this. They move things around to have clubs having a better chance to qualify for Europe in the first place. But this is a top 5 league in Europe. You have a club like PSG, you have Marseille, Lyon, Lille, Monaco, you have Lens doing great things. It should be about, the biggest thing for the French League Association should be setting up the environment for the clubs competing for the French title.
Yeah.
Then how many spots they have to qualify for European competition, that's up to what the other European leagues are performing as well. It's not something that you can mixture with.
And it should be an UEFA decision with something like this, because it's clearly beneficial Paris towards Liverpool in this game also, and toward Chelsea. They can't just go around switching the games.
No, and I think if we take Chelsea example, they are struggling now as well. Having played those 2 matches against PSG, they performed terribly against Everton in the weekend, and Rosinho, dead man walking. It's a shambles. It's not how football should work, and I have heard that there's anger in many places. I don't think there is any other club in France that would agree with this apart from PSG.
But you also said something that Lens can argue over this by going to a second length, they can argue to someone else. Yeah,
they can go to a second court, but I have understood that this outcome is to be considered as fixed. Okay. They can go to some other committee to get it right, but I think we need to view this as this is going to happen, and it's such a shame, and it's also it's terrible.
And we saw this with the Nantes game as well.
And the anger was there as well with the non-fans.
Yeah.
With all right. What are you doing? We want to... And Lens players, they want to play this tired PSG.
Yeah, of course.
With all rights.
That was the plan.
With all rights, yeah.
That was the plan. So don't move things around. And yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's so frustrating too. I mean, for people who just enjoy the French league as well,
Like us.
Yeah, like us.
That's what we love.
Yeah, and it's so fun to see Lens being up there.
They've done such a great job. They do not deserve having matches removed to benefit another club.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Shambles.
Club of the week. This week I have Auxerre, and Charlie is going to present this beautiful place.
Beautiful place. I'm going to start off just giving you the full name of the club that was founded back in 1905, and that's Association de la Jeunesse Auxerroise. And it was actually founded by Abbot Ernest Abbé Deschamps. And I want to ask you guys, do you know what an abbot is?
God, I've heard that before.
It's the same.
Yeah, it's something to do with. It's not the church, no? Is it?
I mean, it's around that. It's related to religion.
Yeah,
definitely.
Monks.
It's related to monks. Yes. So an abbot, then, if I looked into the dictionary, it's a man who is the head of an abbey of monks. And that made me wonder, what is an abbey of monks? So I think it's like a monk place.
Yeah.
A monastery, a monk place, where the monks hang out. But it was founded by this abbot.
But isn't there like a church or something in England called like the Great Abbey or the Abbey?
Yeah.
Abbey, what's it called?
Downtown Abbey?
No, I think it's
that's something else.
Something called Abbey, nothing like that. But then, it's a church. Oh.
I think you're right. It's a religious place. It's a Christian place. But I want to talk about another person. Because listen to this. When you think about important people for football clubs, I'm going to give you the important person for Auxerre. And that's Giroud. He managed Auxerre as a manager between 1961 and 2005. That's 40 plus years managing a club in the beautiful town of Auxerre. They actually grabbed a league title by the end of his tenure there. And in 1995-96 season, they won. And a few years before that, they actually grabbed the Coupe de France, and he went on to win a few more Coupe de France titles for them. And this actually means that they are in 5th place, tied with other clubs, winning that many Coupe de France titles, which is fantastic given the size of the town. I think it's around 100,000 citizens.
Wow.
And that person, is he still alive?
He's still alive. That would be the dream guest on the football podcast. Giroud is still alive. He's 80 plus now. But imagine managing a club in top football for 40 plus years.
Because the only other coach I think about, I mean, I know it's not 40 years, but who's been there for a long time, is Ferguson. He was in United for like 18 years, something like that.
I think even longer.
Longer?
We need to check. But I think our guy here,
he tops it for sure.
He tops it, but it's...
And just a quick one, I checked it up. Westminster Abbey.
Westminster Abbey. Downtown Abbey. We were losing there. But they have speaking of abbeys, they have a really, really beautiful cathedral church here in Auxerre. It's massive, and it's of Saint Etienne. Need to be mentioned. But when it comes to then the performances in 2012, Auxerre had been in Ligue 1 for 32 years straight, and they went down, which of course is a very tough thing after being such a stable club in Ligue 1. And they have had their fair share of great players. Philippe Mexes, you talked about Giroud and looks. This was like a playboy character with his blonde hair and tight Auxerre jersey.
Yeah, you remember him playing for Milan simultaneously as when Zlatan was playing.
Yeah, that was what a band.
He had quite a bit of temper, if I remember correctly as well. So he and Zlatan was... Yeah.
They were exactly. It was quite a squad, that Milan, and I also associate Philippe Mexes with his time in Roma. So he liked those tight shirts from his clubs. But we also have Djibril Cissé, a good striker, scoring many goals for France. And then we have, of course, both legendary player and coach Laurent Blanc. We have Eric Cantona. In the beginning of his career, spent years in Auxerre, but the best name of them all.
Also, quite some temper.
Quite some temper. Maybe that's the thing here. But when we talk about temper, I want to talk about the opposite, because we have a goalkeeper who played a lot of matches for Auxerre, and he has the best name so far. His name is Fabien Cool.
Ooh. But how would you pronounce that last name in France? Would it be like cool, or like would they be like, oh, that's cool, like how you pronounce it when speaking English, or would it be like a French twist to it, and then he would be like nobody?
But I'm thinking cool. It's a good question, but I'm thinking cool is one of those words that is universal. You never know what language you speak. Cool is cool.
Cool.
Fabien Cool, the coolest of them all.
Yeah. Literally.
And that's
I think Guy is quite cool first name also. Guy Rue.
Cool guy.
Yeah.
Guy Rue, actually, it's a 5-star name. I like it, and given his time and place. But I mean, we can hear it. Auxerre is a club with many aspects and many sides that it gets you going a bit.
Yeah.
And I need to mention a bit about the town as well. It's a town in Bourgogne, which is, of course, one of France's main wine producing areas, and it has very old historical origins, and it actually dates back to the 1st century AD. So we're talking a town with going back 2,000 years, and that is something extraordinary. It's back to Roman times, and there was a big Roman way going right through there, and then it was a settlement and a bit of a place. So history is there.
For sure. All right, so we are broadcasting this episode on the 26th of March. So today starts the international break and some friendlies and also some qualification games up ahead of the World Cup this summer. And for those who doesn't know, it's going to be played out in the US, Canada, and Mexico. But we are going to talk about the games that France is going to play now. So they're going to play 2 friendlies, one against Brazil and one against Colombia, and both will be played in the US. And the squad that's taken out now is something I will list for you. But before that, I just want to say, I think I read today that they went out and you're only allowed to bring, I think it was 26 players to the World Cup squad. So you can count the players yourself now and see if it's 26 if you want. So we'll start off with the goalkeepers. Lucas Cavalier, as we know, played for PSG. Doesn't play that much more, I've heard, rumor says.
No, he's clear number 2 behind Safonov, and Safonov we've talked a bit about is good, but he's not top.
Yeah, and then we'll have Mike Magnan for Milan and Brice Samba from Rennes. So we don't have Risser here from Lens.
Dennis, is that the right thing to do?
No.
Risser should be there.
Yeah,
I think Risser should go ahead before Cavalier and Samba.
Definitely.
That after this season, I think you need to be rewarded. The number 1 though, because we should pick our 11, the left foot 11. I believe should be Mike Magnan starting week in, week out and doing good things for AC Milan. Because Chevalier doesn't play football and Brice Samba plays in Rennes. Do you guys agree?
I mean, he has the experience. He's been playing for a long while. So he could bring that calmness to the defenders and the team as a whole. But then, I mean, I don't know if he's really up there. He's not a Courtois or, he's not at the top level either. And I've seen him make a few mistakes over the years, and you don't want those mistakes to occur during a World Cup.
But here we agree to disagree. I hold him not at Courtois level and maybe not at Donnarumma level, but I hold him right behind, similar to Giroud. I come here top of the second tier, but if you compare with other two, Jeff, it's a clear choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Defenders then, what do we have?
We have Lucas Digne, Malo Gusto, both from the Premier League, and then we have Lucas Hernandez, Theo Hernandez, Pierre Kalulu, which I have not seen that much from, to be fair, from Juventus.
I must say, yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be the first choice either. And then we have Konate, Saliba, and Upamecano, where the last two of them, perhaps the last three, might be considered as the top names here when it comes to the defenders.
I find this one the hardest part of the team to assemble. I know, Jeff, you've talked about the possible 3-back to get the strongest players in there, and I can actually agree. Upamecano, Saliba, and Konate. If you want to play a 4-back, I get a bit nervous having Luca Digne in this great French team. But
because that would also then mean that you will probably leave out Konate. And then you'll have to play with two, one left and one right back. And then I think the whole four is not that stable.
No, it could be. We could say then that you could have Luca Digne, William Saliba, Upamecano, and then maybe Lucas Hernandez. So we will say the Le Foot 11, it's a 3-back. Be it modern or not. I say we stick with the strong players, Konate, Saliba, Upamecano. And that actually gives us some room to put more players higher up in the pitch, which is good in this France team, because that's where you want to use the players, right?
Yeah, but then, we'll get into that, but then you're going to have to play with some kind of 4-man midfield, right? Because you're not going to play 4 on top. So considering what we have as midfielders, I don't see 4 players getting in there. Then you perhaps, have to rotate in how to assemble the team and take down one of their many, many forwards.
Yes. I would say like this, because Jeff, if you bring us the midfielders, and we need to assemble a 4-man or 5-man midfield.
We have Camavinga and Tchouameni from Real Madrid, and then we have Emery from PSG, Kanté from Al Ittihad, Manu Kone from Roma, and Rabiot from Milan. And I think, Kanté and Rabiot, we've seen their greatest days. I
agree. It's not their World Cup to start.
No, it's not. I don't think Kone is bad necessarily, but I think we know who the top. The 3 players that he wants to play here in the midfield.
Yeah, so then if we're playing with the names Camavinga, Tchouameni, and Zaire Emery in midfield.
But then he might want to have Kanté as a defender. He trusts him.
Could be.
He's a stable horse. He's been running for a long time, and he can keep on running.
But it's a tricky one. But I definitely say the 2 Real Madrid players I want in, Camavinga and Tchouameni. You have Tchouameni, doing great work, and then you have Camavinga with his feet and his swiftness in the movement, which I like to see. But if we need to pick something, then we need 2 more. Let's bring Zaire Emery from PSG, and then I want to see N'Golo Kanté. One last summer, we've seen him hold that World Cup trophy before. I think let's bring him in for defensive stability against the other great midfielders in the World Cup. What do you say? Is that the 4 we go with?
I think so. I don't think it's going to disappoint. It's then rather going to be that he can't put up that top quality anymore. But if you put him in, he's not going to disappoint you.
No.
You know what you get.
You know what you get. But now on to the forwards. And this is where France has, I would say, the best lineup in the world. This is players of top quality. Top tier, number 1 tier all over.
Give them to us, Dennis.
I mean, Mbappé.
We start with Mbappé.
I think that's a given. Dembélé also a given. Or
It's a given.
I think so. And I mean, since Doué and Dembélé both playing PSG, good chemistry. I would think those three.
But to bring in, because that could already be 1-3 that you can play, and you could argue definitely that that's the best one. But if we bring in, we have Akliouche from Monaco. I don't think he's gonna play that much. He's more of a wild card. But Jeff, Ryan Cherki done a great season in Manchester City.
Yeah, I think here that Dembélé and Mbappé might be his first picks. But then the number 3 place, I think, is going to stand in between Cherki and Olise.
Because that's the thing, Olise from Bayern München has done a season which is hard to compare.
Yeah, incredible season. And I mean, Ekiti, he's been great for Liverpool, but I think he's too much alike. I mean, he's not alike Mbappé, but they will probably play, on similar roles kind of thing, and kind of contribute to similar things. So that's why I think it might be hard for him to get that many chances. I might see him get subbed in from Dembélé in minute 70, if they need to try something else.
Yes.
But so he's not going to be up there. Similar with Thuram and Doué. I think it's going to be between Olise and Cherki, like when they are in US. I think he's going to make that decision late, but he's going to play with Mbappé and Dembélé.
Very, very true. And I think Thuram, for example, also similar to Giroud, very much a role player. He can come in, change a game when they need a goal, and force with the set pieces. But I don't think he should start in this. But if we then come to close, I like your PSG-focused 3 up there, Dennis, with Dembélé and Doué, because we see them do great things. But I would say that Mbappé, he must be there. Dembélé must be there? Question mark. What do you say, Jeff?
I mean, he won the Ballon d'Or last season. I think many can agree that he's not been as good this year. But, I mean, they will definitely give him at least 90 minutes in the first group stage. If he's not, if he's playing on 80% of his capacity, he will keep on playing. But, if he's quite bad and not really there, that and he's been injured a bit, stuff like that, they might drop him for something, but he's gonna get at least the first 2 games for sure. I think even though he's poor in training, he's gonna get that chance. And then, as I said, I think he's gonna make the call depending on the trainings in the US, and also I think depending on the opposition. I mean, Olise can bring more pace as a player, whereas Cherki can contribute with
the flair.
Yeah, with the flair, with some more passes, and he can come down the pitch in another way, I think. So, I mean, it depends on the opponent as well, I think.
But I would say, if we can, because if we need to pick one of Ryan Cherki and Olise, I would put my vote on Olise. Given the season he's had in Bayern München. Cherki's been great in Manchester City, but Manchester City has not been that great, which needs to be said. They also flew out of the Champions League against Real Madrid with a bang. So if we say then that we're starting with Dembélé, Mbappé and Olise, can you guys find another national team with a stronger front 3 this World Cup? I don't think it exists.
No.
I mean, if Zlatan comes back in time, Isak is not injured. We'll have Victor, Isak and Zlatan. And it might not be as good, but quite similar to it.
That's true.
They might be up there. We need to mention one player we haven't actually mentioned, but he's in this squad. He's from Tottenham Hotspur, and that's Randal Kolomoani. And I don't understand why this player has been brought to the World Cup. Bring Florian Thauvin instead. He's doing great things for Lens. Bring this senior player as a mood manager. Why bring someone from a relegation threatened Tottenham to come here? And it's not like any Tottenham player has been fantastic this season. I find that call strange. I would like to have seen Florian Thauvin.
But what about Brazil? What players do Brazil have? I mean, top three. Don't they have quite a good team themselves? They have like Cunha, Vinicius, Rafinha.
It's good. I agree. That is.
If they would play a top three. I mean, Neymar was not even taken to the squad for these games. And he's not sure if he's going to play in the World Cup. But I mean, he's not on the same level. But I think like Rafinha and Vinicius, they are comparable to, I mean, Olise and Dembélé. But then they don't have like an Mbappé. I mean, if you have Cunha, it's not even close. But they have, I mean, Rafinha and Vinicius are great players.
I can agree. Brazil has great talent, and maybe further down the pitch they can have balanced players and defenders. But I would say Cunha there. You're putting the key here is that Cunha is Mbappé from Wish.
Yeah,
it's not even comparative. I mean, we talk about Giroud being a tier 2 attacker, and then Cunha is somewhere further down. I would say, but it will be super interesting. Let's see how these friendlies go, and Brazil and Colombia is not bad opponents. You know, it's perfect for a warm up for the World Cup. That is it for this week. If you can't get enough of French football, I will give you the advice to look at some more highlights from the weekend that just passed. You have the Emerson goal, the Brazilian scoring a great one for Toulouse, but also Udol's goal for Lens. But now we want you to follow us on socials, subscribe and give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, always tell a football-loving friend. For queries, you're always welcome to reach out at lefootpodcast@gmail.com. Now we want you to have a great week and see you next week someday. Au revoir.